Hello, I'm Claire Smith and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be sort of reminiscing really. I'm going to go through all of the perfumes that I have used up in 2020 and so far this year in 2021. And I'm just going to say whether I would repurchase these. And in a way this is a bit of a fantasy video because some of these I can't repurchase. That's what happens when you love a perfume. It gets discontinued and then you can never buy it ever again. Or you have to buy it at a really inflated price on eBay and just take the hit. So yeah, clearly not mad at all. Yeah, I'm going to go through them, tell you what I thought of them, whether I like them or not, whether I never want to see them ever again and I'm glad they're gone. And yeah, sort of make an interesting video. So the first fragrance is one that I utterly and truly loved with all my heart, and that is Jimmy Choo Star. So this is a limited edition flanker of the Jimmy Choo original perfume from 2015, I think this came out, or 2014. And this one is basically like Jimmy Choo, but it's just loads nicer in my own mind. I feel like because it's got a lot more orange and it's very much like a candied orange toffee kind of perfume. It's just so lovely for winter because those kind of notes just make you feel warm and cozy, and it's just so sweet and delicious, beautiful, yummy scent. And people love smelling this on you as well. People can only think of desserts really. It's very much along the lines of Private Accord by Hugo Boss. It's something like that. It's something that's just out and out delicious. So this fragrance is a 100ml bottle and I really did want to repurchase it, but unfortunately by the time I used this up in 2020 it had been discontinued and long discontinued, so I couldn't actually find this one. Then I realised that the rose gold flanker of Jimmy Choo was actually something with pretty much the same notes, so I thought, oh, I'll get that one, but then I couldn't find that one either. And then I bought the original Jimmy Choo to replace this and ultimately regretted it. It's just not as nice. And every time I spray Jimmy Choo, I just think of this Stars flanker and just lament the fact that I've used this up and I can no longer smell it anymore. And also, ironically, after I'd bought Jimmy Choo, I realised that the rose gold flanker was available on one website because I saw somebody else buy it and I was completely kicking myself. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I might end up buying the rose gold flanker to see whether it smells exactly like Jimmy Choo Stars. But yeah, this one would have been a definite repurchase for sure. So that's Jimmy Choo Stars. So the second fragrance is a celebrity fragrance. So it's one from SJP. So it's SJP Covet. So I bought a brand new 30ml bottle in 2020 and I used the bottle up completely. This one was a real weird one. I remember smelling this when it came out. And I remember thinking, ooh, I really like that. But I didn't really remember exactly what it smelled like, so I just ended up buying it. I think since this perfume has had a bit of a revival, I don't know whether it's been reissued or what. My understanding was that it's discontinued. But this one is a real journey. So when I first spray this, I get sort of a lemony kind of smell. It then sort of turns a little bit lavendery. And then it kind of moves into sort of chocolate and then finally woods. But there's also a really sweet honeysuckle note underneath all of that throughout the fragrance. And yeah, it's not an easy fragrance to love, this one. It's one that I think a lot of people would turn their nose up at straight away because the initial spray smells like citronella candles and a lot of people don't like that smell, which is understandable. But it really does move along, this fragrance, and it's just a very interesting celebrity perfume. It's definitely not easy to love this fragrance. I really do think though that it's an interesting fragrance. Whether you like it or not, you can't doubt that this is an interesting fragrance. I do like it. Clearly I liked it. I used up the entire bottle extremely quickly. I would say the longevity is lacking on this fragrance a little bit, but I also think that I wouldn't repurchase it because my husband absolutely hated this fragrance. And he's not someone who readily complains about fragrances. He's someone who generally doesn't make any kind of comment, either positive or negative, about fragrance unless it's something he ultimately truly hates. Literally, I will never get a compliment on fragrance or pretty much anything else actually. He's really not someone who compliments people that much. So this fragrance for me is not a total love. I think, you know, I probably wouldn't repurchase anyway, but that's really the nail in the coffin for me, my husband hating it, so no, wouldn't repurchase. Another one that I've finished is L'Eau de Chloe by Chloe. This fragrance is in the traditional Chloe bottle with the silver lid. I think this bottle is just stunning. I just think that to have a silver plated lid is just complete luxe, isn't it? This perfume I absolutely loved. It's a it's a chypre perfume, so there is oak moss in this, and there's also aldehydes, and I'm not normally a fan of aldehydic kind of perfumes, but this is really a very light aldehydic perfume. I think the fact that this is an EDT as well really made me love it, because it's just really light and sparkling. I think from this perfume I get just that feeling of like lemonade. I get that kind of sour but sweet lemonade with a rose undertone to it, and then the oak moss and the chypreness. It's just very, very classy, very elegant, very, very femme, this perfume, I would say. I think that this perfume did get discontinued, and I think that a lot of people love this one. Chloe, I don't know what they were doing, but they did discontinue this, and I think a lot of people miss it. So I can't repurchase, but ultimately I'm a bit of a neophile, so even if I really, really love something, I always want to try something different. But I think if I didn't have the collection of perfume that I have, I really would go back to this one. It's not loud, it's not a punchy perfume, but it's just a really long lasting, really classy, really lovely scent, and just great for every day. So L'Eau de Chloe, I probably would repurchase actually. So another perfume that got me with the celebrity scents was this one. This is Kate Moss by Kate Moss. This is the original perfume that Kate Moss brought out in, I think, 2007. So this is pretty old. And this perfume kind of reflects what my perfume collection was like before YouTube. So I definitely had a perfume type, and my perfume type before YouTube and before discovering more and more scents and extending the scent profiles that I really, really love, was really heavily rose, peony and pink pepper. Those are the three notes that I absolutely loved. And this perfume has all three of those, but I would say that it's heavier on the peony and the rose rather than the pink pepper. This perfume was really quite sweet as well. It reminded me of like a floral sweet, like a rose Turkish delight almost, but not as rich as a rose Turkish delight, more like a gummy bear or something like that, but in that kind of smell. I really would repurchase this in a heartbeat if I could find it at a reasonable price, but I absolutely refuse to pay more than I should do for a celebrity perfume. And I know that these are really quite rare now, so I don't want to repurchase a perfume that probably should retail for less than £20 for something like £50 or £60. So I'm not going to repurchase. And in a way, you know, like things get done in life, don't they? You move on. And this one I loved at the time, but I don't need it. So I'm not going to repurchase this one. That's Kate Moss by Kate Moss. So the next fragrance you've probably heard me talk about numerous times if you watch my channel. So this is Lola by Marc Jacobs. So this fragrance is just really special to me because my husband bought it for me ages and ages ago. And I think this perfume was pretty much my signature scent from about 2011 maybe to about 2012 or 2013. I did used to wear this perfume every single day. And this one is rose and peony and pink pepper again. It's that classic combination that I clearly loved at one point in my life. And this one I'd say is more heavy on the pink pepper. There's definitely a really peppery opening. It's also got geranium as well, which I think contributes to the pepper. And it's got a beautiful musky dry down. I think this perfume got discontinued in around 2019. And when I used this up, I suddenly realised, because I went looking to see where I could buy it from, and I realised it just wasn't on the shelves anymore. And I always just assumed that this perfume would always be there. I know that sounds stupid, because perfumes aren't always there, are they? You can't always repurchase them. But I just always thought that this one would be with me because of how special it is to me, because of my husband buying this. So I did go on like a little bit of a hunt and decided that I was just going to buy one from eBay, which I did end up doing. So I have repurchased this perfume, but ultimately I don't really think this perfume is that special. I think for me, perfumes have to capture my heart. They have to be associated with someone that I love. They have to reflect a moment in my life or a moment in time or a certain person for me to get a really strong emotional relationship with them. And I think, you know, if I go through a major life event and I'm wearing a perfume, then I want to recapture that moment again, if it's a positive life event, with smelling that perfume again. And I think Lola is one of those perfumes. It's got really positive associations for me, even though it's not perhaps the best scent in the world. It definitely has that kind of emotional link for me. So yes, I have repurchased, but not necessarily because of the scent. So the next fragrance is actually Viva la Juicy Noir by Juicy Couture. Don't ask. So literally I got this fragrance I think in a bundle, and I really wasn't after this one. I mean, look at me and look at that bottle. Do we go together? No, we don't. So this fragrance is like toffee and also berries, but it's also got like an orangey undertone. And I'm going to be honest, this fragrance just gave me a massive headache. I didn't enjoy this fragrance at all. I did end up finishing the bottle because there wasn't that much left in it, but I just couldn't. It was a struggle. I didn't spray very much at once, and I sprayed it well away from my face so that I didn't have to actually breathe it too much. But yeah, I'm one of these people who tend to use up everything in life. I'm one of those people who will just not chuck anything away until it's completely done with. So I think I've just got that mentality of using stuff up. But no, there's no way I'd repurchase this fragrance. I think actually out of the Viva La Juicy line, this is highly regarded flanker. I think this one has the highest score on Fragrantica, or nearly the highest score. And I actually think that if you like this kind of perfume, then this is probably a good one, but it's just too strong for me. But it's weird because it's strong and really piercing and cloying, but it's also a fragrance that is very short-lived. It doesn't really stay for that long. The projection is really quite strong though, and I think that's what Viva La Juicy is all about, isn't it? It's about sort of fun going out perfumes that are super sweet and people want to smell on you. So no, I wouldn't repurchase this one. The next one was one that spilt in the mail when I bought it, and I remember it arriving and opening the package and being totally shocked by what I smelled. So this fragrance is Agent Provocateur by Agent Provocateur. So this is their signature fragrance that came out in 2000. And I remember receiving this bottle and the smell, it just smelled of urine. I just could not believe the smell that I got from this fragrance being spilt all over the packaging that it was in. Yeah, it was just something else. And for a long time, I thought, oh no, what have I done? Why have I bought this fragrance? And I'm going to repeat again, do not blind buy this fragrance, because it's not a safe blind buy in the slightest. I mean, nothing's a safe blind buy, but this one really isn't a safe blind buy. I think ultimately this fragrance had a bit of a morbid fascination for me. I just kept wanting to smell it. I don't know what it was. It was like it had some power over me. And ultimately, I did learn to love it. In the end, I sort of ended up concluding that it's just a dusky rose with a bit of a dirty smell to it. And I think that's really the vetiver and the patchouli in this. But it's kind of got a very animalistic kind of naughty smell about it, really. And I think that's what I was smelling with the urine. I think it's just got a lot of florals in it, and if you get a lot of that in a very small space, I think that can transform into something that's unpleasant. But yeah, it's just a very sort of deep down and dirty kind of perfume, and definitely something that is really quite sexy, I think, Agent Provocateur. But definitely, something that if you haven't tried it and you're thinking, oh, I want to blind buy a perfume, don't blind buy this perfume, okay? So that's Agent Provocateur by Agent Provocateur. A more recent purchase now. So this one I think I reviewed in my vintage scents video, and I've already used it up because it was just a teeny tiny bottle and a 30ml, and I think it only had about 10ml left in it, and actually the longevity of this perfume is pretty woeful. So this fragrance is Secret Obsession by Calvin Klein. I absolutely hate the bottle, as I said in my review, and I'm not so keen on the perfume. So to me, this smells a bit like a fortified wine, like a sherry, but it's also got a bit of spice about it. So it's got a bit of nutmeg and a bit of mace. And yeah, it's just very kind of plummy, really, this fragrance. I wouldn't say that this is something that I enjoyed wearing. I'd say that I just used this up. I definitely wouldn't repurchase. It's not a love, that's for sure. I kind of understand why people do like it though. It's got something about it. It's a bit unisex feeling, this fragrance, and I think that can be really quite sexy in a way. But to me, this just reminds me so much of sherry that I just can't get the image of my grandparents out of my head. So to me, this is not sexy. But no, I wouldn't repurchase this fragrance, and I'm glad it's gone. So another one from the vintage scents video that I've pretty much used up, although I've got a little bit left, is Lancôme Miracle. So I don't think there was much in this bottle to begin with, but I will literally use this up probably in this next week. There's a teeny tiny bit left. So I actually really like this fragrance. It's kind of gingery and floral, and it just reminds me of crisp white shirts, and it's just very, very clean smelling. It's very professional smelling. It's something that I enjoy wearing to work. I've been wearing that to work a lot recently. I'm meeting my new PhD student on Monday, so I might wear this fragrance to smell a little bit more like somebody who wants to ask things of, and like I'm a person who might know what I'm doing, etc. I probably would repurchase this one. I think this one is definitely something that most people would like. It's not offensive in any way. It's something that does smell of its time. So it was released in 2000, and it definitely does give me vibes of that time period in my life. It's definitely something that I will have smelt on other people at that time. But yeah, I really like it. You don't smell old school when you're wearing this. You just smell elegant and professional and clean, and like someone who's got their stuff together. So that's a Lancôme's Miracle. So another one that I bought over the summer and I nearly used, so I've got a teeny tiny bit left in this one as well. So this is a 100ml bottle of Beyoncé's Heat. I'd say this fragrance reminds me a lot of Secret Obsession by Calvin Klein actually, but it's just a sweeter, slightly nicer version. But again, it's got woeful longevity. I sort of spray this perfume a bit like a body spray. This is not a perfume that I chose to buy again. It was part of a bundle, and it probably had about half left in this bottle, so it really has gone quite quickly. It's definitely something that you need, 6, 7, 8 sprays to actually be able to smell. It's something that has a longevity of around an hour on skin, I would say. I think if you spray it on clothes, it does last longer. I definitely wouldn't repurchase. I was kind of curious to know what this smelled like because it is Beyonce's perfume. And I know that Beyonce is allergic to perfume, so I was wondering what this would smell like. I can't imagine her wearing this, to be honest. It's not what I would have imagined that Beyonce would have chosen to put in a perfume either. So I think this is supposed to be a peach perfume, but to me this smells more like a plum perfume. It's definitely got lots of amber in it as well. It's quite warm and it's quite musky. It's quite sweet too, but it's definitely got a dusty, musky kind of feel. It's not something that I would repurchase for sure. I don't find it pleasant. I think if you like this perfume, then fair enough. We're all different, but it's definitely not on my to buy list. So that's Beyonce's Heat. So I've got some smaller perfumes now that I've used up. So this first one, my friend bought me from L'Occitane. So this is Pivoine Flora from L'Occitane. She bought me this ages and ages ago, and it's just like a little roller ball. And again, this fully fits my scent profile of what perfumes I like. She clearly knew me well. So this is peony. Again, Pivoine means peony in French. And yeah, it's just like a peony, rosy fragrance, really. I did really enjoy this. I do hate rollerballs though, and I suddenly discovered after using this up how to decant a rollerball, so you can just squeeze the top off very simply, like that. So I could have decanted that into a spray bottle, and I really wish that I'd known that at the time because I probably would have enjoyed the fragrance a lot more. But yeah, it was very convenient for taking around in your handbag or something if you're going on a night out and you just want to freshen up a bit after work. That's kind of what I used it for. So I think L'Occitane fragrances are all in the main quite nice, but they're all quite short-lived, I would say, and this one was no exception. I'd say it probably lasted maybe an hour and a half tops. So I wouldn't repurchase, even if this hadn't been discontinued, I wouldn't repurchase. I've also used up a mini of La Vie et Belle. So I started using this during lockdown, the first one. And I don't know, I just started craving smelling La Vie et Belle from never ever sort of really being bothered by it before. And yeah, just the smell of this I found really, really comforting. It's sort of orange blossom and patchouli and praline, and it's just a really sweet kind of enveloping fragrance. It's a fragrance that feels like a hug, and I know it gets a lot of hate, but ultimately it's popular because a lot of people love it, and I think that's probably why I like it, because it's just a very crowd pleasing perfume and there's nothing wrong with that. So I do have a bigger bottle for this little teeny mini, and I did have a few other minis of this perfume which I've given a couple away to friends now. So yeah, I like this perfume and I have repurchased. So that's La Vie et Belle by Lancôme. So I've got a couple more that I've used up that are minis. So the one that I've probably have loved the most is actually this one. So it's Prada Tendre, and this fragrance has been discontinued for a while, I think, but I just found this a beautiful kind of unisex fragrance. It's just really relaxing. It feels really grounding. It was something that I was definitely reaching for during lockdowns. I think it's got that kind of very citrusy, bergamoty kind of opening, but it's also got tea in it, and it also some patchouli. So it's just a very grounded, very it makes you feel like you're in connection with nature. This fragrance is how I describe it. It feels very green and very citrusy, and it's also a little bit aromatic. I think actually in the opening it's really quite masculine, and then as it dries down it becomes more feminine. It's one of those shape-shifting fragrances. It's definitely something that's really quite interesting to wear, really calming. Yeah, I would, if I saw this at a reasonable price somewhere, I probably would buy a bottle. It's just really beautiful, but I just haven't seen it at a reasonable price. So that's Prada Tendre. So, and the final fragrance is a little mini that I actually decluttered, but I just thought, do you know what, I don't want to give that to anyone. I don't want to make them use that fragrance. So I put it in a room diffuser and I used it up that way because, you know, I hate waste. I've said it before. So this is Vera Wang Princess. So this fragrance is kind of a watery guava fragrance, but it's also got a milk chocolate note in it, which I find a little bit, I don't know, if I wear it, it makes me feel a bit sick. I don't know what it is about it, but there's something in this. I think it is that watery chocolate note that just makes me want to heave. I know that Princess is one of those perfumes that people grow up with and people wear as teenagers, and I've never noticed it to be offensive on other people. I just find it just is offensive on me, I think. There must be something about my skin and how it reacts with this perfume that makes me just not like wearing it and feel a bit sick wearing it. But yeah, I'm glad this one's gone. And yeah, it's a dabber bottle, so I don't like sharing dabbers with people because it's not very hygienic, is it? So that's Vera Wang Princess. No, I wouldn't repurchase. So that's the final fragrance that I've used up in the last year or so. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know if any of these ring bells with you, which fragrances you've used up recently. And yeah, there's something a little bit satisfying about using up a fragrance and finishing a bottle. And I don't know what I'm going to do with these bottles. What do people do with their bottles when they finish them? Do they collect them? Do they keep them, or do they just chuck them in the rubbish? Or do they somehow dispose of them some other method that I haven't thought of? Please let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, then please press the like button and please consider subscribing if you haven't done already. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.